Worries on my mind, it's been a tough week. My life feels a void, there's something that I need. My supplies on the table, I grab a comfy seat. I need to craft to put my mind at ease. Crafting changed my life, it mends my soul. In my happy space, I'm in full control. It's crafting time, craft my troubles away. Give me a world of color to brighten up my day. Crafting videos on, searching what I can do. Sipping on my drink, feeling inspired and new. Crafting's good for the soul, it's so true. Bringing beauty into the world through as I craft my spirit.
Live from the Sunshine State in Miami, Florida, here is the Gifted Crafters Morning Show with Nancy.
Good time. Ooh, time to get our craft on. Ooh, time to have fun. Ooh, time to feel good.
Hey, Gifted Crafters, and welcome to the Gifted Crafters Morning Show. Good morning, everyone. It is TGIF, and I hope that you guys are excited because it's a long weekend. I see everyone chatting away in the chat from all over the place. Thank you so much for tuning in. I see California, Michigan. Hello, Louisiana. Wow. North Central Texas. Hey, Becky. I see everyone just kind of settling in, and we'll just give it just a sec as people kind of come in and get themselves all nice and set up. Thank you guys for tuning in again this morning. I am really excited because we're going to continue our journey today on getting to do a couple of crafts and getting some info in and just, give you just little things to just kind of start your day. Okay, so if you are already tuned in and ready to go, grab your little favorite of whatever it is. There's no judgment here. We will definitely get you nice and comfy. So find your little cozy spot and grab your little drink. I'm actually just drinking water today. Woke up thirsty, but I can tell you it was a little bit of a soaker getting home yesterday. A little bit of a stormy night, and we're supposed to kind of have a stormy weekend here. So if you're tuning in for the first time, my name is Nancy with GiftsHQ, and I host these daily sessions to just talk about crafting. I also am live on Saturdays. We do Saturday crafternoons, and if you're able to join us then, go ahead and do that. We're on Saturdays at 12 Eastern Standard Time. So if you can join us, that would be wonderful. Otherwise, we are here every morning just to get your day started. Welcome. Hey, good morning, Jenny, Faker McFake, Becky, Delilah, Mary, Celia, Krissa, Heather. Hi, Becky. Good morning. Okay. So let me take a little swish here. Actually, had to take a long swish. All right. So now that we've got our drinks ready to go, let's get our little snacks in. We've got that food truck coming in I believe it's heading down the block. Let's see. Here it is. Okay. So we've got our little food truck, and this is our little virtual food truck that comes in and has all kinds of snacks and goodies just for you. Pick out anything that you want. No calories. It is the best thing in the world. And we have all kinds of stuff from cookies and croissants and muffins. And we even have some healthy things. And yes, that's a little unicorn that's going by as well. Alrighty. Yes, orange juice. Yummy. Awesome. So now that we've got our snacks and we've got our drinks and we're in our cozy little chairs and we're ready to go, let's get started, shall we? Because we've got quite a number of things to cover. I'm not sure if we are going to be able to cover everything. If not, we will pick it up again on Monday. So hopefully you guys will enjoy what we have to cover today. But before we get to any of this other stuff, let's take a look at our crafting news, because we've got quite a number of things to tell you about. Alrighty, so this is Friday, May 23rd, and we've got tons of stuff going on, so let's just go through this really quickly. Alright, so first off, after 15 wonderful years, Monica from Oma's Place, a company that's known for its beautiful machine embroidery designs, is stepping into a well-deserved retirement. But don't worry, friends, because her designs will live on. Because I'm happy to share that Designs by Juju has officially purchased the entire Oma Place design library, and Monica is excited that her work will continue to kind of live on and bring joy to the crafters all around the world through a company that she trusts and admires. That's awesome. Now, she shared that at 78 years old, it's time to slow down, enjoy family, friends, and her garden, and take a break from the busy life of running a business. Now, she's not saying goodbye completely. She may still create a design or two and then, kind of get them over to Designs by Juju. So that's really nice to know. Now, a couple things that's really important. If you purchased some designs from her in the past, they will not be transferring over to Designs by Juju. So you have until August 22nd to download your files from Oma's Place. And after August 31st, your purchase history will be gone. So make sure you do that and you don't lose your files. So if you need any help with that, just email Monica at omasplace.com and she'll be happy to help you. She wanted to send her sincerest thanks to everyone out there who supported her. She said that creating has brought her comfort, creativity, and joy through the good and tough times. So as she begins this new chapter, she invites you to visit Designs by Juju and explore the designs that she's poured into her heart. So that's really, really wonderful. So we all want to wish her a happy and peaceful retirement, well deserved. And, don't forget to download those files before August the 22nd. And I want to thank Becky from Power Tools with Threads and Celia, one of our subscribers out there. She pointed us in the right direction on getting this news out to you. So thank you, guys. Okay. We've also got a simple act of kindness that's come full circle at the Heartworks Quilts and Fabrics. And thanks to the owner, Margaret Wolf, for that very special quilt. So years ago, Margaret's husband, Jim, was battling cancer. And during his treatment at the Dana-Farber Cancer Institute, she noticed how cold patients got during chemo. So she was wanting to help, and she and a group of local quilters began donating handmade quilts to provide warmth and comfort. And then over time, she gave away 400 quilts. Isn't that amazing? Oh my gosh. So one of those quilts happened to reach a young boy by the name of Sculler, who was also fighting cancer. And many years later, his mother, Wendy, found a quilt in a bag of keepsakers, with the Heartworks business card that was still kind of stuck inside. So she was touched by the memory, and she reached out to Margaret and offered to donate unused fabric left over from her family's comforter business. So Margaret accepted and invited the quilt groups to help turn the fabric into gifts of comfort. So on May 16, local quilting guilds came to Heartworks to collect the donated fabric. They pledged to use it to create quilts, walker bags, and other items for people in need. And it's amazing how just a single quilt brought comfort to a child. And now through generous donations, the love is just going to continue to come on over and over again. It's just a really nice reminder of how a kindness of one person just kind of comes full circle with that. And I think that's really cool. Okay, let's see. We've got one more item here. So the other day we mentioned in our, excuse me, we mentioned in our news segment that the crochet tops are back in for the styles in the summer. Well, we've got another handmade favorite, and that's having a big moment here, and that's crochet bags. Yes, I said crochet bags. Heads up, ladies. We know we love our bags, right? All right, so these are cute and they're cozy and they're popping up everywhere. Some fashion runways to beach vacations. And they're perfect for carrying around like your favorite book, a little silk scarf, some little treasures, all the fun little things that we put in our bag. And they're just, all over the place. So the designers are showing off woven and raffia bags and all kinds of colors and shapes as well. They've got natural shades like beige, ivory, sand, and they're perfect for kind of a little relaxed summer look. I know all of you are kind of looking out for the summer now and is trying to find that new look for you, and this just might be it. So if you want to have a little fun and go bold with some bright colors and some stripes, that's a pretty nice way to do it. So another great tip on this is you don't need to spend a lot to join on this the trend here. So whether you buy one or you make your own, there's a crochet bag that's out there for everyone. So it's really, really nice. Pretty cool trend, and I think you guys would really love it. So there's all kinds of crochet bags out there, so check them out. Alrighty, that's all I have for our crafting news. I hope you guys enjoyed that one. So now that we're kind of done with our crafting news and another segment, let's kind of dive right into our project because we've got so much to cover. Okay, so today we're going to be starting a new block. So yesterday we completed the courthouse steps block, and that was with our foundation paper piecing, using this book here, and this is what the block looks like right after we were done, and that's using again these papers right here. So today we're gonna kind of continue on our journey and make the woven star. And I kind of made one last night just to kind of jog my memory and make sure that I was getting the right information to you and kind of figure out where the little tips and pain points are for you. So now let's try to make this. I'm going to go ahead and turn it around. This is what it looks like on the back. It actually kind of looks kind of pretty in the back too, right? So I pressed open the seams, super important. And we're just going to kind of follow what the book says, and I'll give you some tips as we go along. Now, this block is a little bit more complicated than the first block that we made, which was the courthouse steps. And for the pattern itself, if you're interested, we are doing the Star Climber pattern, which again is a free pattern that you can get from the Fat Quarter shop. So once you have the instructions in place, it's a free PDF download that you can get. You would have to purchase the papers that are required for this quilt, which are the two here. You've got the Woven Star foundation paper, and then you have the Courthouse Steps foundation paper. Now you will have two sizes available for purchase. There's the 4-inch side and a 6-inch size. And those are the two options that you have for this quilt. We're going to be doing the 6-inch size, which is the lap size. The 4-inch size will give you something like a table topper. Okay? So just in case you're new and you're just stopping in, that's kind of what we're working on. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take out one of the papers. This is what the pad looks like once you get it. This is the sheet that we're going to be working off of. So I'm going to go ahead and pull this out. And this is what we will be doing. Now, I'm going to be referring back to the book quite a number of times because as you open up the book here, the first thing that you have are tips and requirements, and it gives you all the instructions that you're going to need to make this specific block using their paper. So this is for the woven star. It gives you the cutting directions, a couple of tips, and some instructions here. Now, some people kind of deviate from the instructions and do things different ways. I'm going to just kind of show you the way I was able to do it and how I was able to come out with my star. Okay, now I can tell you that even if you do not have really perfect sewing skills, so sometimes you don't hit all the points and you're just not as an advanced piecer, I can tell you paper piecing is pretty forgiving, and once you learn the little tips here and there, you can really knock out a pretty nice quilt from there. Now, again, I started on this paper piecing journey because I did purchase the Hooter from Legit Kits. And that is a pretty nice quilt that has a little bit of complications in terms of tiny, tiny pieces that you are piecing. So I wanted something to kind of gather my basics. I've done paper piecing before, but it's been a while. So this is kind of just how I'm able to kind of remember how to do all these things, get a little practice in before I can jump into that project. So this is where I'm at right now. And the first thing I can tell you are the cutting instructions. And so for the cutting instructions, it's telling you for your light fabrics, which is basically your background fabric here. So all the white here that you're seeing, okay, all of those, you're going to need 2 sets or 2 piles, right? You're going to need 2, for 1 block, you're going to need 2 squares of 3 3/4 of an inch. So 3 3/4 of an inch, cut that square out. You're going to need 2 of those. And then you're going to need 2 cut at 3.5 inch squares. Okay, so I have little labels on top to remind myself which one is which, because honestly, they're not that far off of a difference here. You can see it's not too much of a difference between the 3 3/4 and the 3.5. It's only a 1/4 inch difference between the two. What fabrics did I use for my star? So Sandra, I am using, it's a scrappy quilt, so you can use your scrap fabric, but for the scrap part, I am using Peace and Plenty. Peace and Plenty is a Riley Blake design, and this is by Lori Hope, Bee in My Bonnet. And these are the pieces that I'm using for a scrappy. I've got 2 of these layer cakes that I've purchased. This set that's right here on top, I have already starched them and ironed them. And now they're kind of ready to go. I have not cut all the pieces yet. I'm kind of cutting as I go so I can kind of show you guys. I do have just a couple here that I did just to kind of get us through today. And then I have a couple of other strips. I'll show you the strips here. I have a couple of other strips here that I used to cut. And this was for the first block, which is the courthouse steps block. Okay, so we've been working on this all week. And so for the courthouse steps blocks, if you watch the videos from this week, you'll be able to see me cutting it and basically starting the project from start to finish all the way to the end where we got our block right here. Okay, so now that we finished this block, we're ready to work on the second block. And these are the only 2 blocks that you need for the entire quilt. They're just going to basically, the layout for this is just basically alternating the 2. So we're going to have about, is it 40 or 41? Hold on. We're going to have, I believe it is, let's see, actually, it's going to be over here. Where did my instructions go? Here they go. We are going to make, let's see, 41 of the woven stars and 40 of the courthouse steps. So that's the total amount that you need in order to make a lap quilt, which is the 6-inch size. If you're doing the 4-inch size, I believe it's the same number of blocks, but it's a smaller block, and you're going to end up with a table topper. So that's what you need to get started, and this is what we're going to be working on. And so let's kind of just go through what I did first here. Okay, so the first thing that I did was I pulled out the sheet, right? And the first thing that the instructions even tell you to do, and I'll kind of go back, like I said, I'm going to keep referring back to it. I need to kind of bend it because then it kind of gets it off the thing here. So I'll kind of try to leave it this way. So the first thing that it tells you to do is to cut your paper into 4. And then you have these little dots right in the middle that says first trim line. And they have it on both sides. So that's the first thing that you want to do here, is to kind of cut your paper. So let me just grab my ruler here. And I'm just going to line this up and cut right on that line. You're just basically dividing this into 4. Let's grab my little rotary cutter, hold this down. There we go. So we've already did our first cut there. And now we're going to cut it. Oop, there we go. Now I'm just going to turn this. I cut them separate. You can just kind of line it up and cut it, but I don't like to kind of take that chance. I like to kind of just do it on my own and enjoy the process. I'm not in a rush. I like to take my time doing this, and just having patience. So there's a bunch of ways that you can do this that'll make it go a lot faster, but I'm not really interested in the speed. I just want to enjoy the process. I mean, that's why I like to craft. So, okay. I'm gonna have a hard time with it. There we go. Doesn't want to get off the mat. There we are. Okay, so we've got 2 here, and I'm gonna do 2 more. So cutting this in half right on the trim line. Okay. There we are. All right. Let me keep it over here for now. Okay. So we're going to end up with your 4 triangles out of that paper. This is going to make 1 block. So the first thing I'm going to do is I like to kind of I'm going to take a smaller ruler here. And I'm 1 by 1. I take the blocks, and everywhere you see a line, I'm going to go ahead and crease it. And so I kind of use my ruler to help me with that. I kind of line it up on the line here, and then just give it a little fold. And I use the ruler to be able to push against it. That way I can make that fold. And then I just kind of go around looking for the fold lines. And I like to prep my paper this way because it just makes it easier later. You can wait to do this part when you have the fabric on it, but it makes it a little bit more difficult because now the fabric is there and it's hard for you to kind of see exactly where you want that fold to be. And so I like to kind of just do it beforehand. It just makes it a little bit easier because now these fold lines are already going to be there. So I'll already kind of have an idea as to how far or if I'm doing the fold correctly. So that's why I just like to prep it. So once I've done that, I kind of give it a little fold here again, make sure I got everything. And so you see here how it ends up folded. Oh, Heather says, appreciate slowing down. Too many people want to zoom through everything. I have to remind myself to slow down and enjoy the process. Yeah, and you know, Heather, on some of those videos, what I do is I play with the speed and I slow it down. Because, you know, especially if you're into crocheting or knitting, they do those things so fast. And sometimes you're like, wait, what? And you have to kind of go back and I slow them down on there. And even with that, sometimes I still have to kind of keep rewinding to teach myself things. But yeah, but I like to take things nice and slow. So if you guys are not into slow, you can speed me up. All right. So we're going to do that with all of our pieces. So I'm going to go ahead and do that same thing with the others. Now, one thing that makes the woven star very different from the courthouse steps, which was the first block we did, is that for the woven star, you're going to be making this into 4 different pieces, and then you have to kind of sew them together. But what I want you to notice within the paper itself, it does have, and let me kind of see if I can show you this up close. I want you to focus on these little points that they have on the paper. They're very important, and you'll find out why later on in the process. But let me bring that close to you. You see those 1, 2, 3, 4 little dots? There's a dot like right around here. There's one here on the other side. And then down here, we've got one. And then over on the other side as well. Those dots are going to help you line things up so that you can nail the points when you're putting things together. So it's really important. Like when I'm doing the fold, I want to make sure that I am folding right on that dot and make sure my fold is going to be correct too. So that's something to look out for as you're folding it. Look at those dots as well and make sure that they are lined up correctly and that you're folding your fabric and hitting those, because they are going to be very important for you later. And if you get that lined up now, it's going to make things so much easier. Okay. So again, this star takes a little bit longer than the courthouse steps one. So I'm not sure if we'll be able to finish it today, but I don't want to rush through it just so I can get it in on the hour, right? I'd rather you guys get the information, and, you know, I'm going to try to just make sure that take my time and just kind of explain it to you. And if we have to continue this on Monday, we will do that. Okay. Plus, I do a lot of talking in between, so we probably won't get through the whole thing. So I don't know. It's a long weekend, and I don't know if anybody has plans for anything. If you have any plans, you know, let us know in the chat. I want to know what you guys are up to. Seems like it's going to be a stormy weekend for us here down in South Florida. So let me know what you guys are up to. Okay, I've got that fold, so we're good. And I'm on the last one here. Good morning, Leslie B. Good morning. Okay. So let's line this up here. I'm going to do that fold. And there's no particular order on how you do your folds. I just kind of start on one end, end up on the other. Nothing major. You can kind of do it anyway. It really doesn't matter which side you start on or anything like that. You're just wanting to do a pre-fold. Okay, I'm trying to line that up. Here we go. And one last fold here. Okay. All right, I think I got all the folds here. Ready to go. All righty. So now you have your pile of 4 triangles, all kind of pre-folded here. Oh, thank you, Heather, for upgrading your membership. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. I hope you really enjoy all the content we give you. Thank you. Okay, so I've gone ahead and folded these all in place. So now we're ready for the next step. But I want to show you how we do this, because you're going to start using your cut up fabric, and I kind of cut these up. So I want to show you how I cut it up. So I'm going to grab one here from my set, and let me try to put this in a place where it won't go flying away. All right. So on the instructions, they tell you for light fabrics, you need 2 3 3/4 of an inch squared, and you need 4 3.5 inch squares. And those are the 2 that I have here. They're just a simple cut, 3 3/4 or 3.5. What I did is I went ahead and got my background fabric, and I just cut long strips of 4 inches. That's all I did. Just cut 4 inches of going across. And then what I do here, from here, I subcut. And so from this strip, I was able to cut out the 3 3/4 and the 3.5 inch square. Have just about, for the 3 3/4 inch square, you have a little bit of waste of about 1/4 inch on each side because you're doing it squared. And then for the 3.5, it's about 1/2 inch size. But it goes a little bit faster when you do it that way, and it just makes it a little bit easier to do. So we're going to start with that, and then we're going to go into our dark fabric. So light fabric, 3 3/4 of an inch. I'm going to go ahead and grab my ruler here. Where'd my long one go? There we are. And the way I'm going to do it here, since I'm left-handed, so for me, I kind of line it up the opposite way. So the first thing I'm going to do, actually, let's clean up this edge here. I want to line up my ruler. And this is where people kind of struggle, is with cutting. And it's really just, you have to kind of think of it as you always want to start off with a nice straight edge. And don't think that necessarily just because you have a block that this is nice and straight, because we have starched it. So the fibers have moved around, and you want to make sure that, your 10-inch square may not be a 10-inch square anymore. Matter of fact, this one was already starched, and if I kind of lay this out, let's see, my 0 is on this end here. You can see here, it is not a 10-inch square anymore. This is now a little bit less than 9.5 because it's been starched and it's shrunk. So over on this end, on this side here, this one is just under 10 inches. So your fabrics are moving around as you're starching them. So you want to be careful that when you think this is nice and straight, it is actually not. You really need to look. And the best way to do that, at least for me, is to put the fabric underneath the ruler. And so I will line up my edge and then just pick any. I've just picked kind of like the middle of the ruler. I just lined up my bottom line here with the bottom edge of my fabric. And I just kind of look over. Now, I prefer to be standing up so I can properly look over it. You want to make sure that you're right on that line. So I'm going to kind of hopefully get this right because I'm sitting down. It's not the best position, but I'd rather that you be standing up and looking right over it. And then just kind of hold it down with your hand, take your rotary cutter, and go ahead and give it that cut. And you can see that little strip that we did take off. Now I know that this strip is nice and clean. So what I would prefer to do now is to go ahead and line up the amount that you need, leaving the fabric exactly where it is, and then start subcutting from there. But because I'm left-handed, this kind of doesn't work for me. So I do have to kind of pick it up, which is totally okay because things happen. We get distracted. Kids are calling. Dinner needs to be done. All kinds of distractions out there. So sometimes things don't stay exactly where we want them to. And that's okay because we just need to know how to kind of move around that. So I'm going to go ahead. I flipped it over to this side. I'm going to kind of fold this a little bit more so I can move it more to the center. And then once again, I'm just going to line this up here. I am not lining up with my mat. I'm lining up with my ruler. Okay, with my ruler, I'm going to grab that little point on the edge, make sure it's nice and straight going this way, and then nice and straight going this way. And then I'm also going to take a look. Once I'm pretty happy with how these two lines are lined up, I'm going to glance over on the top to make sure that this is going relatively straight. Now, this may be a little wonky depending on, how you cut your strips, or maybe, you've got some fabric that shrunk. So you want to keep your eye on that. And as long as it's over the amount that you need, you'll be fine because we're going to turn it and trim it again. So let's go ahead and check this line here. And it's always best to keep it underneath the ruler. Now, the size that we're going to need for this is, where did my pad go? Keep losing my things here today. Here we are. Where are you? There we go. Okay. So for the light fabric, we're going to do the first one at 3 3/4 of an inch. So move it that way. Okay. So 1, 2, 3, and then we're going to go 3/4 of an inch. That what I have underneath my ruler is what I want to cut. And it's always better to have the fabric underneath, lined up where you want it to be, and then go ahead and make the cut and push that off to the side once you've made the cut. So again, line it up on the bottom. See, that's nice and straight. Line it up on the side. Make sure that's on the line. And then take a glance on the top. Is it kind of going in the same direction? Could be that your top is off, but that's okay, knowing that this is going to be 3 3/4 of an inch square. So if it's 3 3/4 of an inch, we're following this line and we're following this line right here. We're not following the 4-inch line because it's 3 3/4 of an inch. And then you can notice here you have 1, 2, 3, 4. Because I cut these into 4 strips, I've got a little bit of leeway. And that's why I like to cut my strips just a little bit bigger, because it allows me to kind of correct for any errors that I made in subcutting this. So because I've got 4 inches, I know I have more than enough. So if the fabric is not exactly straight or the fibers shifted when I starched it, I have enough space to be able to subcut that to exactly the size that I need. So let's go ahead and make that first cut here. Just holding it down with your hand, pressing your rotary cutter against your ruler a little bit before you cutting the actual fabric, and then just kind of pushing down on the rotary cutter, and then just pull that away. You always want to pull this away, leaving this underneath, knowing that you've gotten your cut. Now, if you have one of those rotating mats, this is a nice little project to use it for, because now we're just going to kind of rotate this way. And I'm going to again put this underneath my ruler at 1, 2, 3 3/4. Find that corner. Make sure I'm lined up on the bottom as well as the side. And then I'm going to look at the top, and I should be hitting that 3 3/4 of an inch line, of which I am. So I know this is all perfectly squared, and this is the only piece that I'm going to be trimming off, which is really not that much. So again, hold it down, grab the rotary cutter, slide that going across, giving it a downward pressure, and then just get rid of the excess. And so that's how you have your perfect little 3 3/4 of an inch square here. And now we're going to do the same thing for the other one. We're going to need 3 1/2 inch square. So remember, you're going to cut 2 of these, and then you're going to cut 2 at 3 1/2 inch. So I'm going to go ahead and move this over. And here we are, lining this up again. Now I'm at 1, 2, 3 1/2. So lined up this way, and I have more than enough on this side here. So pressing it down, using the rotary cutter, and giving it that cut. Separate this away. I'm at 3 1/2. Take this away and rotate it. And then line it up again. 1, 2, 3 1/2. Now I'm at the halfway mark on the top as well. So this is all I need to cut away. So we'll get rid of that. Okay. And we need 2 of these as well. Now I've got some that I have cut out already, so I'm just going to add these to the pile. But I'll go ahead and grab these. So now the first step in here is for you to have your background fabric ready to go. But you'll also need the dark fabric. So this fabric is going to be playing the role of my white fabric, my light ones. And then these scrappy fabrics are going to be playing the role of the dark fabric. Okay, so you always want something that's going to contrast, whether it be scrappy or if you want to do just one fabric color, you can do that as well. Just make sure you have one light and one dark. You need that contrast to be able to do this block. Okay, so now let me just bring this over to the side. And I want to go ahead and cut the scrappy side. So let's do that. For the scrappy side, a little bit different. So the scrappy side is asking for 2 1/4 inch by 3 inches and 2 1/4 inch by 4 inches. You need 4 of each. Okay, so let's do the first one, 2 1/4. Now, when I look at this, I say, okay, it's 2 1/4, and then I can subcut 3 inches or 4 inches. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take my layer cake, and I'm going to cut strips of 2 1/4 inches. And then I'm going to subcut between 3 inches and 4 inches. Okay? So let me bring this to the side here. Now, if you're using a layer cake, you're going to have that pink edged on the side here. I'm totally okay with that. There's some people that do not like that. You can trim that off. I think it's for paper piecing. I think it's fine. It's really not going to show. It's going to be in the seam allowance. No one's even going to see it. So I'm going to just go ahead and line up my ruler. Again, I'm lining up because this I already know is not a true 10-inch square. It's shifted, it got starched, and it's shrunk. So just right now, I have this ruler lined up on my bottom, And then I can tell just by looking at this, I know that this is straight. But as you can see, look at this ruler here. It's going beyond this mark right here. So it is, the block itself is a little bit wonky. It's not exactly straight. So you can trim that off and get it to be straight, or you can just kind of go off of the edge and continue to cut that way. It really is it's your preference. I'm just going to kind of leave it and use that edge as my mark. So I'm going to line this up here, and I said 2 1/4, I believe. Yep, 2 1/4. So I'm lining it up here. I could trim it off, but I'm going to just go ahead and leave it. I've got 1 2 1/4. It's lined up now on this side, and I've got it here. So on the top, it is a little bit off, but that's okay because I'm subcutting it. So it's not really going to matter. So I'm going to go ahead and keep that lined up, grab my rotary cutter, and just do a couple of strips. So here we are. There's one. Just kind of move it to the side, and then I'll just do a couple more. So 1 2 1/4, lined up on the bottom, lined up on my side. Everything under my ruler is what I want, and so I'm going to go ahead and cut. And you're going to get about 4 of these out of each layer cake square that you're using, if that's what you're using. But this project, if you have a lot of scrappy fabric in your craft room, you can totally use that. There's another one, and we can get one more out of this. And you'll see this is the only waste that you're going to have out of this square. So we'll be using all of this, and this is your waste. So not too bad. Okay. So now that I have these strips here, I'm ready to start subcutting them. And the book indicated that you needed 2 1/4 inch by 3 inches and by 4 inches. So we're going to look at 3 inches and 4 inches of what we're subcutting. Now you can kind of pile them up if you'd like, or you can cut them one by one. I'm going to try to kind of pile them up by lining up the edges here. So we've got 4 strips here, and I'm going to kind of just tap it down. Looks like they are pretty much lined up. So I'm going to lay them down here, give it one more tap. And if you're not comfortable with that, you can totally do it one by one. But I'm lining it up there. Again, the size that we need, 3 inches and 4 inches. Yeah. Okay. So let's go ahead and do that. I've got to flip it over this way. And I'm going to just make sure I have this lined up again on the bottom, lined up here on the side. And then I'm going to go ahead and do the cut. So I have got 1, 2, 3 inches right here. Now this is quite a bulk, so make sure that your rotary blades are sharpened as well. And then just press down. And you'll want to keep your pressure on the ruler. And then push that to the side. So we've got our 3 inches here. Go ahead and do that. I'll leave it right on top. And let's do a 4-inch one here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Holding it down. It's really important that you put a lot of pressure up here on the front where the cut is, because we're doing a lot of bulk. You don't want it to move around on you. And see how sometimes you don't get that perfect cut. So go back again. And what's nice about it is because you have the fabric underneath the ruler, when you go back to do that cut, you're not moving anything. So you're exactly where you want to be. So there's the 4-inch. Okay. I'll just throw this in the bottom here. And then we should be left with about 3 inches. Yeah, it's exactly 3 inches, so we don't even have to cut the rest. So I can just put this on the bottom of the pile here. Okay, so those are the cuts that you're going to need. And we are ready to get started. So we can grab one of our papers here. And the instructions are going to tell you let's see if I can leave this here to the side, if I can. Okay, so first it tells you to cut the paper into 4. We've already done that. And then it's telling you to take your placement 1 fabric. And placement 1 fabric is part of your light stash. And it is the one that you cut 3 3/4 of an inch. Now you'll see I have 2 little pieces of painter's tape on here. This is just kind of my way of knowing and kind of labeled. This is placement number 1. So I have a number 1 kind of written on the painter's tape there. It's just my way of knowing. If you have little alphabeties, that'll help as well. I just like to number it just to make sure that I am picking the right side. And then I have the 3-inch side right next to the number 1s. And I've got the 4 inches next to the other placement lines. 4 and 5. So I've labeled them just so I don't get confused. And so I'm going to use the one that's not labeled. That way I can keep that label there. And you're going to look at your fabric and you want the side that is the right side up. So this one's kind of hard to see because it's white on white. But this seems to be the right side of the fabric that I want to show. So I want you to take your paper piece and turn it upside down. And then we're going to go ahead and turn on our little caterpillar light. If you have a light box or anything like that, go ahead and use that. And then I'm going to go ahead and put this down. Now, one thing you've got to do, before we put this down, sorry, I forgot one thing. We do need to cut this in half. And this is kind of scary because you're going to kind of expose and cut on the bias. And we all know that, working with things that are cut on the bias can be a little tricky. So yeah, let's go ahead and take the ruler one more time. And don't worry because you're going to be fine. But we're going to go ahead and line this up on the corner. And you're going to do a corner to corner. Make sure you're right on the corner. And you want to do a cut. You're going to subcut this into smaller triangles, okay? So let's do that. And you can do that with both pieces. You can do it now or you can do it later. I like to kind of wait because bias can be super tricky. And so we're definitely don't want to kind of move this around too much because once you have made this cut, you have the risk of this warping a little bit. So be very careful just how you treat it once you've cut it. Yeah, so I see a lot of things in the chat going on. So we're going to keep going, but I think we have a couple of segments going on. I think you guys are all having conversations out there, which is awesome, but all right. We're going to keep going with this. So we've got the two cuts here and let's take a little break and do that little quote of the day for me. Okay. Because we've got a few quotes in here. Where did I put my little card? Okay, here we go. I just noticed the time. So let's get to that quote of the day, folks. I'm so sorry. Almost forgot. So today's quote of the day is paper piecing reminds us that tiny steps lead to great beauty. And I hope you enjoyed that quote because it really ties into what we're working on here today. And so this kind of ties into it. You know, we have every little step that you take, all these tiny little pieces will come out to a great beauty because we'll end up with a gorgeous little star at the end. So this was really nice to kind of put together. So we're at the point that we are ready to now start working on our paper. And I know we've only gotten to the cuts. So let's kind of I'm going to continue on the cuts so that you guys can have all of your cutting ready and done. And then we're going to come back on Monday and we're going to tackle putting this onto the paper. And we'll see if we could finish the block maybe Monday or Tuesday before we're able to finish, because there's a number of steps and tips that I want to share with you guys. So let's just go ahead and cut them, put them in the piles. You're going to need to cut both of your light fabrics. You want to cut that diagonal on both sizes, both the 3 and a quarter inch square and then the 3 1/2 inch square. Both of them are going to be required to be cut on the bias like this. So you're going to want to continue to cut all of them. So you can kind of cut them as you go, like I was kind of doing here, or you can make your piles. But what I would suggest is if you make the piles, which is certainly fine to do it that way, just try not to kind of handle your fabric too much. Once you have cut it, kind of put it in the pile and try not to move it around too much, because as you move it, you end up kind of stretching it and you don't want to warp your fabric. So just kind of cut it, put it in a pile and keep it to the side. That way you have that nice and set up. And so when we come back on Monday, we're going to be ready to start loading it into the paper and start doing the folds and cuts and sewing on this. So this is where we're at. At least you have all the information that you're going to need to start prepping your fabric. You can also do all of your multiple cuts here on the side. Remember, you're going to need 4 different scraps for the 4-inch side, as well as for the 3-inch side. You're going to need 4 also. So looks like we are right on time. So I'm going to go ahead and end our session here. Remember, we will be on tomorrow for our Saturday Crafternoon show, and I hope to enjoy that session with you guys and hope you guys can join. I hope you have a wonderful weekend. If not, we will see you on Monday where we'll continue our project. Thanks again for tuning in, everyone, and I hope to be crafting with you soon. Bye.
So long for now, so long. Glad you stayed a while. Hope you liked my crafting style. Hope I left you with a smile. By now, keep your mind and space clutter-free. Hope your day is bright as can be. So long, my friends, till we craft once again. Bye now, stay crafting. See you tomorrow. So long, my friends, till we craft once again.